Good morning, everyone. Welcome to your Network 216 pregame show for the Browns and Seattle Seahawks. I am Tyler Johnson, joined by Jacob Roach, Casey Kinnaman, Mr. Eddie McDonald. Gentlemen, how are we doing this morning?
Well, I reached a milestone in the year. Yesterday was the final Saturday home game for Ohio University, so that is the final day of me coordinating that parking, which is always like 6 out. It's just a nightmare. And so we got that weight off our shoulders. We're able to move past that. So tired, but really, really good.
Glad to hear it, man. That's always nice to hear.
I'm chilling. I had too much fun this weekend, and I loved it. I loved it. It's Halloween weekend. There was a lot of cool costumes. Some were like really stupid, of course, but one thing, what are those things that, like the machines outside like a grocery store, like the gumball machine. But he had like different things, and you can actually
get out of it.
Yeah, it was cool. And there's like a little fidget thing that was inside of it. I was like, oh, sweet.
I am exhausted. I have been binging Peaky Blinders on Netflix. I recently canceled my Netflix, so I had like till the 20th November, and then it all goes away. So I'm trying to binge Peaky Blinders and get it in.
Hey, what did I tell you to do? Did you do what I told you to do?
No, I wasn't. I wasn't equipped to have the leeway to watch Big Mouth this weekend yet. It's on the agenda, Jacob. Trust me. I'll go back to work till Wednesday for my foot, so I'll knock it out. I promise.
Hey, I saw the best Halloween costume I've ever seen, and this is applicable to this. So there was quite a few costumes going into OU's football game yesterday. It was against Miami. They did get beat, but whatever. But I saw a dude, and I was like, hey, I saw him from behind. He was walking on the sidewalk. I was driving up, and I saw him from behind. He was like, oh, he's dressed like a referee. Well, when I got an NFL referee, that's important. When I got to the front of him, he also had those black blind man's glasses with a cane, and he was pretending to be blind.
That actually is pretty good. That's pretty good. I like that. That's a great way to start the day. That really is a great way to start the day. Anyways, guys, be sure drop a like on today's video and subscribe if you're brand new to Network 216, as we are on the road to 3,000 subscribers. We can't get there without your help, so we really, really appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. But also, you can join the show on the Lockerverse app. And one reason you want to join Lockerverse is Quarterback Unplugged premieres every single week with Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson and Quincy Avery, only on the Lockerverse app. Not only that, we also have our network Thursday night football pregame show where we just preview all the games around the NFL for the coming week. So another great reason to go to Lockerverse, completely free to join the app. Join us in the Dog Pound Lounge where we answer all your questions and comments. Gentlemen, before we get to the Browns and Seahawks, just because the NFL trade deadline is coming up and all of us aren't going to have a chance to gather and really talk about this all together, it's been reported by Diana Rossini, who covers the NFL for The Athletic, that the Browns are on the hunt for a wide receiver. It looks like that is the position they want to add. There have been some talks that some people thought they'd look running back, potentially another veteran quarterback, even rotational defensive end, but it looks like they are going to add a receiver, I would say, before the deadline. It looks like there's a good chance. Who are some names that you guys would like to see them add that you think are realistic? Everyone wants the Browns to go out and make a huge splash. Devontae Adams isn't coming here. I think Hopkins is still unrealistic. But what do you guys think?
I mean, a guy that I think could really be productive in this system is Elijah. Oh, shit. Fuck, I messed that up. More speed, I guess, if you're going to do it. We talked about this the other day, Tyler, Terrace Marshall from the Panthers. I think that one is probably, if you're going to do, I'm just surprised. I'm really surprised. The wide receivers have not been the problem. They've been open. They may feel like they need more speed, I guess, just because I don't know if they used Elijah Moore correctly. I think it would be fine, but because Marquise Goodwin has done a pretty good job in that particular role. But if you feel something like you feel good about Cedric Tillman, I know he hasn't played a ton, but if you feel good about Cedric Tillman and you're like, well, we have two big bodied receivers, him and DPJ, and we just want to get more vertical. Because I think backup quarterback wise, both PJ Walker and DTR have strong arms. I think they can push the ball downfield if they are given the opportunity. So maybe that's what they want. If you want to trade for more speed, I guess it makes sense, but that's just not the position I'd be looking. But Terrace Marshall, you do something like that, yeah, I'm all in on that. That'd be fine.
Yeah, I could see a player like Marshall, but I'm with Jacob. It's like until we get consistent quarterback play, it's kind of hard to even tell what you have in the wide receiver room. Like base level, to me, it looks like you have all your skill sets covered. If they do covet more speed, if that's what they think they're lacking. But I'm seeing enough guys running wide open all over the field that to me, it's not the wide receivers is my concern. I would be more apt to look into maybe a left tackle if you could try to snag one. But yeah, Terrace Marshall would check all the boxes though, from what skill set perspective and his age.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why they'd go after a wide receiver because, like Jacob said, they're not the problem. There's just been injured quarterback play and like just poor quarterback play, and so I don't think that makes sense. Like maybe a running back, sure. Like with Jerome Ford, still banged up. I don't know if I'd trade for Derrick Henry necessarily. And like I think I saw yesterday a trade that was like DPJ, a 4th and a 7th for Derrick Henry, and I was like, I don't think the Titans say yes to that. I don't think that does anything for them. If they don't make a move, it is what it is. Like we're used to that, but I wouldn't make it for a wide receiver because the quarterback play is too inconsistent. We don't know when Deshaun Watson will play. We don't know if they're going to go try and get Jacoby Brissett back or anyone else that's a veteran to take the reins from PJ Walker in that time. So I would not go wide receiver at all.
I think the big thing is, and I've said this, unless you're trading DPJ, it doesn't make sense. Now, I assume you go out and get a guy like Terrace Marshall, DPJ's like you're getting rid of DPJ because at that point, you're not moving DPJ as your third wide receiver because that's going to be Elijah Moore. Like you want Elijah Moore in the slot, not DPJ. Mm-hmm. Then on top of what, you're just going to make DPJ a healthy scratch. I mean, everyone wants a big, like, it's just what fans want. They want a big name. Terrace Marshall Jr. is not that guy, but he'd be cheap. He's under contract. He's only 23 years old. And, it would make sense from the standpoint that the Browns have liked him also since he was coming out of the draft. He wants out of Carolina. I mean, I think if they're going to make a move, that's the most realistic just because it's not a big name. Running back, I've said this. Eddie, I said this on Wednesday. If you're going to go get a running back, Leonard Fournette's on his couch, man. Well, okay, let me rephrase that. The dude's probably actually working pretty hard. But my point is, why am I giving up draft compensation for a guy like Derrick Henry unless I can go get Leonard Fournette for just a contract, like half a year? I mean, that's what I would do. And if you're going to trade for a running back, what would you guys think of Dalvin Cook?
That's where I was going to go, man. That's where I was going to go because the whole conversation in the offseason, and Tim, I see your pregame show comment that we will get to. I just wanted to say that because I still see it over there and I will get to that. I promise. There was this big talk about trying to find a way to lure him here with Nick Chubb all offseason. I mean, there was never a visit or anything like that, but Browns fans were trying to will a visit. I would say that they were trying to manifest it and make it to where he came to town. And I am so flabbergasted. So I have a couple of questions about Dalvin Cook before. Like, why is he not getting the ball? Like, what's going on? Is it just that you love Breece Hall? Like, I mean, if that's the case,
I would love Breece Hall.
Yeah. No, I do too, but I'm just saying you made this big giant spectacle. Like Dalvin Cook was signing autographs at your training camp and he wasn't a member of your team. He then went other places after that event. He was there for the Hard Knocks, all that shit. It was this big fanfare, and I get it. Aaron Rodgers not out there, but Rodgers realistically could come back this year. I think it's wild. I know everybody says that, but like if you were going to want him to be a part of Rodgers before he got hurt, maybe you'd want him to be a part. I just don't get the usage. And so my question is like, is he not healthy? What is going on? Is he bad in the locker? Like, why is he not playing? And so obviously we will never have that answers, but I think Andrew Berry can get those answers necessarily. And he can go out. And if you are content with those answers, that's probably the only one I'm trading for, because like you said, yeah, it's a rental, but you're probably going to do a pick swap. It'll probably be like Amari Cooper. You'd be like, we'll give you a 5 for Cook and a 6. Like I'll do that because he's not making a ton of money. But if you're not going for like a splash running back like that, yeah, man, Leonard Fournette, he's not the only guy that's out there. You can go out and get some productive guys. They had Kenyon Drake and Benny Snell in this week. I'd take both of them. Like, so if you're not going to go for a guy, swing the fence for Dalvin Cook, just go sign one. There's plenty of quality veterans out there on the free agent market.
Don't you think a lot of it hinges on what happens with Strong today?
Oh, yeah. Oh yeah.
If Ford can't go and Strong gets a good workload, you kind of see what you have in him, and that kind of pushes it forward to whether you need to go make a move or not. But if he shows you something, I would be content with who they have in this room. There's several free agent running backs just chilling at home, going to be watching the games, same as we are today. I don't see a need to make a move there, but like I said, today could show them a lot, and they could either leave today's game thinking that's what a move they need to make, or they could just be content. I'm very interested to see what Strong does with his reps.
Yeah, we talked about Strong last week, and then he got a little bit more reps, and it wasn't just on the kickoff. On the kickoffs, he was running the ball. He ran it well, decent for the time he had it. I think he does get a bigger workload today, even if Jerome Ford is playing, just because he's banged up as well. So we'll see what happens, but I'd be all in on Cook, just because he is a capable back, and if this offensive line can block for him, it'll be fine. He won't be obviously Nick Chubb because nobody is, but he'll be a little bit better because he's that veteran that has played and knows what it takes to win. While Ford is finding his own. This is basically his rookie season all over again because he didn't touch the ball very much last year. So I'd be with that trade for Cook. Like Jacob said, you don't have to give up much. You give up a pick swap and get him, but the whole spectacle was bizarre, and I get it because the Jets were the talk of the offseason because of Rodgers, and they finally have a quarterback, and now them and the Browns are in the same boat. They're a quarterback away from being dangerous, and let's just take their running back if they want to give it to us. If not, then like you said, there's a bunch of free agent options that could come in.
Yeah, because we know Baltimore wants a running back. That was reported as well. Get Dalvin Cook so Baltimore doesn't get him. That's because I think Dalvin Cook in Baltimore with Lamar, I would not be a fan of that because I think Dalvin Cook still has a good amount left in the tank. There's one last thing I want to get to regarding the trade deadline. I don't know how true it is, but it is interesting considering the Browns tried to sign him back when he was a free agent with his last year at the Bengals. It's been reported that the Browns are one of the teams that have expressed interest in defensive end Carl Lawson from the Jets. How would you guys feel about that move?
I mean, it's not really an area of need. I'm good with the room we have. If it's for depth, sure, I guess. But I don't really feel like it'd be beneficial to trade, draft picks for someone that we have an abundance of, quality players at that position. There's really not too many areas of need on defense that I feel they need to trade for. I think they're solid at every position. All 11 positions are pretty solid. Maybe a linebacker because Taki's been banged up. But outside of that, I'm good. I think I'm good on that. But then again, I'm not a GM, so I don't know anything.
The Carl Lawson, when he left Cincinnati, kind of puzzled me because at the time I viewed them kind of swapping out Carl Lawson for Trey Hendrickson as a downgrade. But in totality, they were playing chess because Trey Hendrickson was a hell of a signing.
Oh yeah.
And Lawson's kind of not really done much since he's been in New York. But when I look at a defense, man, you can't have enough pass rushers. You can't have enough cornerbacks. So if Jim Schwartz wants another guy in his arsenal, and if that's what him Schwartz wants, let's get him Schwartz what he needs. I'm not going to get in his way. But it comes down to compensation. What are you going to have to give up to get a Carl Lawson? You know what I mean? I don't know. I can't really gauge it because I don't see him as a upper tier guy, but they definitely gave him upper tier money. So it just depends on what the compensation would be.
Yeah, I'm not giving up much. And I think, I don't know. I don't like the contract that you're going to have to take there. I mean, they love Alex Wright. We know that, and he's been playing well. And then they got 3 starting defensive ends. Ogbo's been great. Zadarius got off the schneid finally, and hopefully the floodgates open there. And Miles is the defensive player of the year through the first 7 weeks, in my opinion. But I'm never going to be like, oh my God, you got another good pass rusher. What are you doing? Like, I'm not going to do that. But like,
you can never have too many good pass rushers, in my opinion. I'm just going to be real. Like, yeah, I agree. The contract is bad. I'm not a fan of the contract. Like, I'll give you that. But when it comes to adding pass rushers, you're never going to hear me complaining about adding a good pass rusher.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's like I might not be the one to go out and do that, but I'm not going to get angry if you do that. Like, I'm not just going to be like, oh, fire Andrew Berry. I mean, I've seen some funny fire Andrew Berry tweets this last week, but it's funny because I took a few days off social media, as you guys know, and I stepped away for 3 days or so, and I came back on, and I was like, oh, so that's what happened while I was gone. But yeah, no, man, like I don't know. I'd rather go offensive tackle, but hell, you can make multiple moves. You never know with Andrew Berry.
Exactly. I mean, who knows? He could end up pulling off some blockbuster trade that none of us see coming except Madden. But anyway, it actually is interesting. It's funny. We're talking about Lawson and Dalvin Cook. Diana Rossini, she must be watching the show. Must be watching the show. It said the Jets are actually not getting many calls on Carl Lawson or Dalvin Cook. She said, we'll see if that changes after today's game. So it's going to be very interesting to see how much Cook plays today, because that could tell you something right there as well. Anyway, the Browns do have a football game to play today. They will travel to Seattle to battle the Seahawks. Browns have not played in Seattle in a while. This is a Seahawks team that I'd say they have a chance to win the NFC West, especially with what's been going on in San Francisco. With them losing back-to-back games. What are your thoughts on today's game? I think the big thing that stands out, you're playing at one of the loudest stadiums in the NFL, and P.J. Walker is, of course, going to really have his hands full today.
Well, it begins and ends with Quest Field. That's a tough place to play. I don't care if you're an experienced team, if you're inexperienced, doesn't matter, man. That 12th man factor is real. Seattle has their own. They give you a lot of problems, actually. I think the Browns match up well in certain areas, but it's going to be tough to throw the ball today. Their corners are legit. They play a 3 safety look. They odd man front always gives the Browns offensive line troubles. I don't think they're overly talented up there, but their linebackers. I mean, me and Jacob talked about it on Friday. For 4 weeks in a row now, they have faced nothing but all pro Mikes. Just from Roquan Smith to Fred Warner to Shaq Leonard, now to Bobby Wagner. I mean, it's a murderer's row right there. So they provide problems. I think that the emphasis, though, the Browns defense has to lock this down, and it comes down to the Browns pass rush. That's where they can affect this game. I'm not impressed by Seattle's offensive line. They have weapons. Geno's he's competent, and he can make some high-level throws, but it's all about getting pressure on Geno and forcing some errors today.
Yeah, we talked about this, but they've allowed 79 quarterback pressures this year. So but they've only allowed 9 sacks, which is to me a really interesting stat when you look at it. It's like, yeah, they're not exactly winning at the point of attack, but the way the offense is kind of set up, a lot of that is Geno getting the ball out of his hands quickly, and he's very decisive. In my opinion, I don't think he hesitates very often, and I think that's why you got to be very careful to monitor his check down, because he's not afraid to use it, but he's also not afraid to push the ball downfield. He has 3 really good wide receivers. I have no idea why they're not playing JSN very much. That's pretty stupid, but across the board, Tyler Lockett is questionable today. Obviously, we won't know until later on today, around 2:30 or so, before the inactives come out. But he's got Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf, Noah Fant out there. They've got a really good running game in my mind. But if you can knock Geno off his spot and put him under pressure today, and I think this offensive line has a chance to do that, I think they can be fine. I mean, but that's the recipe for this defense week in and week out, because they have the tools to do that. And when they do that, they've been historically great.
Yeah, the defense is definitely going to be the one to lead the way today again. And hopefully PJ Walker, there's a better game plan for him now that we've known for the whole week. Hey, you're going to be starting guy. So just so you know, there's no, is he going to play? Is he not going to play? You're playing. You're the starter. But I think the defense has to get there. And Geno does get the ball out quickly, and he has weapons all over. And I think JSN doesn't play that much because he had that wrist injury coming in out of preseason leading up to the start. So I think he's still – I know we're 7-8 weeks in or whatever, but I think that's still lingering. I don't know if it's lingering or if that's just pushed his development back a little bit. But the Browns pass rush absolutely can get to Geno Smith. They have to force him to make bad throws. And if they can do that, I think they can – the secondary is beyond good enough to get another pick today, maybe even 2, and they're going to need it. You have to get turnovers here, especially in Seattle, to quiet that crowd as much as you possibly can.
I think with Geno Smith, and one of the things about Geno, I actually he's one of the players I root for across the NFL because his story is just fantastic. I mean, the fact that he came in, he was supposed to be the savior for the Jets. Didn't happen, didn't work out well for him there. He's kind of struggled throughout his NFL career and finds a home in Seattle, plays really well. I root for him. And today, I think he has a chance. If he can play well against this Browns defense, it's only going to get him even more respect around the league. But why, like you said, Jacob, why Seattle doesn't use JSN more, I have no clue. I will say this, they have gotten him more involved since the bye week. But, I think JSN could actually have kind of a big game today because I think the Browns are going to try and limit as they should, limit DK Metcalf. I think Tyler Lockett can still be a factor, but JSN, I just have a feeling he could have a pretty solid game today. But I think the biggest part for me, guys, that worries me about this Seattle team, and maybe you guys will disagree, but I'm not sure on this one. If you can contain Seattle's running game, I think make Geno beat you with the pass. Now, Geno can do that. He's proven he can do that. But I think if you contain Kenneth Walker, I think there's a good chance the Browns defense can keep him in this game today.
Yeah.
I'm with that because that makes them more one-dimensional. So when last year when it was just Jacoby Brissett, Nick Chubb didn't get the carry because he got carries obviously, but they were in the box. Like there was 9 men in there because they made Jacoby Brissett beat. Now they're going to have to do the same thing the Browns are to Geno Smith. I think that's exactly the exact game plan here. Obviously, you want to get to Smith and disrupt him, but if you stop his running game, then he becomes more one-dimensional, and he has to throw it more.
Yep.
Yeah, Walker's dangerous, man. He can do a lot. He's very versatile. And then they got the 1-2 punch with Charbonnet, the more violent back. And so the emphasis is going to have to be stop the run first. Seattle's a very physical group. Like that's something that Pete Carroll year in year out, man, they're going to be physical, even if they're not highly skilled. They just happen to be highly skilled on the outside and they're physical. But it comes for me, it's win the line of scrimmage on both sides. Like that's what's going to keep you in this game period. The Seattle defensive line isn't stout up the middle. You can win there. And then we know what the Browns defensive line can do. They can ruin the line of scrimmage for Seattle, force them to play from a deficit. And that's what they're going to have to do to stay in this game. I think this game's going to be closer than people think. I definitely think that it's not going to be a high scoring affair, but it comes down to the Browns defense. And if you stop the running game, put pressure on Geno, you're going to give yourself a chance today.
Yep. I think so.
Yeah, I mean, with Kenneth Walker, I've said this before. I think he's one of the more underrated backs in the league. I think all around, he just has everything you want in a running back. That's why I was really – I think we all kind of were a little surprised when they took Zach Charbonnet in the second round this year. But I guess at the same time, Seattle likes to have a stable of running backs. I mean, they got it. Kenneth Walker, though, is just, to me, like I said, just very underrated overall as a player. It looks like
he's a stud for sure.
Yeah. No, he is. He is a stud. It looks like the DK Metcalf is going to play today. He was out last week. How would you guys – would you go one-on-one? Like, I think Martin Emerson Jr. can really hang with DK Metcalf. I know a lot of teams like to double him just based on his size. If you guys were Jim Schwartz, how would you attack DK Metcalf today?
I'd play him straight up. I just play him straight up because they've been playing man a lot. They play man – I think it's more than anyone in the league, or it was more than anyone in the league last week or the week before. Just play it straight up. You have the talent there. And if the pass rush can get to Geno, then it's going to make it more difficult for him to find Metcalf. But just play him straight up, and you can play him with anyone. It doesn't have to be just Emerson. They can switch on, wherever he's at. It's not like he's going to be shadowed for the day. But I just play it straight up because he's a hell of a player. But I think that our secondary, I don't think they get talked about enough and we talked about how good this defense is, and we talked at historic levels of different things earlier this year. But I don't think the secondary gets hyped up enough. They don't allow very many huge plays, except the lackadaisical ones where nobody knows what happens. But I just go straight up and play man on him again, and you can put any of them on him, and I think you'll be all right.
Well, I think that this game is the perfect game to, and Casey kind of said this on Friday, play with that single high safety for over-the-top help on whatever side you need. You man up across the board. I think I would be interested in Martin Emerson traveling. I would be interested in Emerson traveling on DK Metcalf. I don't think that it's a big ask to ask either one of the other corners to cover him. I'm not saying it's impossible or anything like that, but I just think that the size speed combination just really matches up with what Martin Emerson does well as a man coverage corner. And I'm not saying he's as big and physical as DK, but I think he can give it back as much as he can take it. I think he can really fight back and impose some of his will on DK. And then I think Juan Thornhill and even Grant Delpit over the top, looking for the deep ball and preventing those big explosive vertical plays, especially from Metcalf and if Tyler Lockett's out there. And, if Martin Emerson's manned up and Metcalf goes over underneath, Juan Thornhill's the back there to rotate over top on Tyler Lockett and things like of that nature. But that's what I would do. I would have the most physical defender on the field for Cleveland in the defensive backfield to really be on Metcalf and just play some safe over the top safety help for these guys.
Yeah, Metcalf's an anomaly, not just from a physical perspective, but in his game as well, because he's one of those guys that you could limit to 2 or 3 catches, but he could still have 70 and a touchdown.
Uh-huh.
I mean, he's one of those quick strike type guys. I like Emerson a lot. I do worry about some of the deep speed against Metcalf because straight line Metcalf it doesn't make sense for him to be as big as he is and for him to be able to open up like that when he gets to the third level. But that's the game you got to play with Seattle. I put my biggest physical guy on him, try to muscle him up, try to get to him at the line and really just stay sticky with him as much as possible. He's probably going to get 1 or 2 wild plays because that's just who he is. But that doesn't mean it's not successful what you're doing. But I do definitely want to see an uptick of man. They did play too much zone for my liking last week. I think they paid for it. I'm hoping they learned from that. This is a defense that is built to play man defense. Like Jacob said, going to have to shade a safety every now and again because they'll look to get DK deep because that's a skill set. But I would definitely stick Emerson on him and let him travel.
I want to give you a follow up to that, Casey, because they did run a lot more zone last week. What do you? I mean, again, we're not inside those huddles, like we don't know why. If man was so successful and working that well, why do you think against the Colts they decide? And anyone can jump in. Why do you guys think that they went to more zone against the Colts as opposed to what's been working every single week?
Well, I think the 49ers called for as much zone as they did because they're a motion-heavy offense, just to avoid confusion, because defense is just alignment and assignment and your keys. And a team like 49ers changes alignment so much that it changes assignments, and you end up passing the guy off to the wrong guy, and all of a sudden you have blown coverage. I think they had more of a straight-up approach last week from the Colts. Colts don't run a ton of motion, but it doesn't suit your skill set. These corners are built to play sticky man. And they're different in their approach because Emerson's physical, wants to get hands on you. Denzel just wants to mirror you. He just wants to be Velcro. And Newsom's kind of a combination of the two. He's a little more physical than Denzel, but he does a little bit of the mirror stuff too. So I don't know. I definitely want to hope that they learn from their mistake and go back to their man approach because I think that gives them the best chance to win.
Yeah, no, I agree. I was really surprised by it too because I don't know if it's just when you go. I just didn't understand running zone against the Colts because I just thought. I mean, nothing against Josh Downs. I mean, Jacob, we've talked about Josh Downs for a while. I think Josh Downs is going to be a pretty good NFL slot receiver. He's already starting to do that. But, I mean, Michael Pittman Jr., he's solid, but you can man up him. Alec Pierce, same thing. I don't know why. It was just a little surprising they decided to go that route. Jacob, I know you wanted to get to Tim had a question for us. He did it at the very beginning, well before the show started. And I know you wanted to read it. Do you have that question his question that we can answer?
He legitimately asked it like an hour ago. Isn't that hilarious?
I love it. That dedication. I love it.
Yeah, a week full of preparation for PJ. Browns fans. What do you expect from him? I believe coach will have him ready to play in a very tough environment. I'm excited for this defense to go get him. We talked about this Friday. We even talked about this, I think, somewhere else. I don't remember, but had this conversation where going into this week, Casey had said on Tuesday night, that the idea of putting Watson on IR so that he could just like go away for a while. And by that just mean go get healthy without having to answer all these questions and take all these shots and everything that comes with a player having a day-to-day injury for over a month. And I get it based on, excuse me, that injury. I think the injury is very real. The injury clearly affected him last week, and we are seeing why he was not out there. But it was handled so weird that I think it caused more issues than like, I get like being private and all that stuff. I don't think it was worth it is what I'm getting at. But you went on Wednesday and you said, hey, based on what we just saw, I don't think a week is enough. Like what we saw in the Colts game, and then probably how Watson was feeling Monday and Tuesday, they looked at it and they were like, I just don't see a week being enough to get you there. So they're like, let's not play these stupid games. And they go out and they just rule them out. There was I had issues with the way they handled the Baltimore game. They didn't get an MRI until the night before. And then PJ said last week, he didn't really take many first team reps last week because they started giving them all to Watson on Thursday and Friday. I think this is the first chance to see PJ Walker as your actual starting quarterback. Like the first game, and he's not a all-pro Hall of Famer. I'm not saying anything along those lines, but I do think he's better. He'll be better. I do think he has more ability than what he showed in the first couple of games that he's played. I mean, you go out there and you say, can he make some big-time throws? Yeah, he can. I mean, that 30-yard dime down the sideline to Elijah Moore, that was a big boy throw. That was a third down throw. That was a final drive to win a game. And it was like the week before he did a final drive and kicked the field goal against San Francisco. This time we needed an 80, 95 yard, whatever it was, a huge drive, and it needed to get in the end zone, and they found a way to do it. So rather that's PJ Walker or the weapons around PJ Walker helping to elevate him, to get him in positions, to get that offense as a team into positions to score points. He now has some camaraderie with those guys. He now has, a relationship and comfort, and they're building this comfort between wide receiver and quarterback. And you're now being like, hey, I know how Amari likes to run routes. I know how Elijah likes to run routes. And when you get to those timing situations, I think he'll be better. I don't necessarily know what better will be, but yes, I do believe, having known he was the starter for the entire practice week, I think that does do something. We'll see how much, but I do expect him to be better. Yes.
Yeah, I agree with that. I said that, Casey, you said it a bunch of times on different shows that we've all done. They fumbled the situation. They fumbled it massive. I still don't understand. If you know he has a bum shoulder, why did you not get that looked at prior? And I just don't understand that at all. And then it's like back and forth. Like the team says one thing, but Watson's personal team says another thing. And it's like, what are we doing here? If you're hurt, then you're hurt. You can't play if you're hurt. That's it. I think, Casey, you also said that they should have put him on IR, get him 4 weeks to rest up and rehab, and we don't have to worry about, is he going to play? Is he not going to play? Can he throw the ball? Does he have zip on the ball? Does he have all these other buzzwords that we've been hearing? But now PJ Walker gets the chance again, but he gets a full week of it. And that's what I like the most about it. And that's why I have more confidence in PJ Walker today than I had any other time that he was the starter. Because here he comes, he gets the whole week. And as Jacob said, he's getting that rapport with the receivers. He looks for Elijah Moore early and often when he is going through his progressions. Last week there was I don't know why Amari Cooper wasn't being targeted as much. That didn't make sense to me, but I think he gets more targets this week. And I think David Njoku is proving to be a nice security blanket for PJ Walker. And for anyone that's on this team that's throwing the football. And I think someone in the comments said they should throw to the Chief more, and they absolutely should. And I think that this is one of those games where Walker can feel as comfortable as possible because he had the whole week. And it's not, okay, well, you might not start. We'll let you know maybe Thursday, possibly Friday, 2.5 hours before the game might let you know. Nope, the whole week. So I think, like Jacob said, I think he does better. I don't know what better looks like. I think he might be able to not turn the ball over. And if he is able to not turn the ball over, then the Browns should win by 10. But if he turns it over, then it's going to be a back and forth game like we all think it's going to be.
Yeah, I don't know what better looks like, but I know what my bar is.
Yeah.
I need him to complete 60% of his passes. He can't be around that 50. It just won't work. You got to stay on the plus side in turnovers. I'm not asking you to be perfect. If you throw, you know what I mean? I get it. If this team turns the ball over 2 times or less, at this point, you got to consider that a win, just because that's who they've shown us to be. You're going to give it up a few times, but don't do it in crazy situations that makes the field short. No pick sixes. Keep it clean from that perspective. And I need him to use his legs a little bit.
Uh-huh.
Now, he's super athletic, but he is not someone who's ever really used his legs in the NFL. The previous 7 starts he had before this year, he had 51 yards of total rushing. There needs to be an emphasis to get him to stay up with the sticks, because instead of putting the ball in harm's way just to try to make something happen, take 3 or 4 yards and get down. Now, I know the Browns are going to be apprehensive about running him because they're so thin at the quarterback position. They don't want to expose him to anything, but you can't cut his nose off to spite his face. You have to take advantage of the things that he has. So just 60% completions, give me 25 yards rushing, and keep the turnovers at a minimum, and this team will still be in it.
Yeah, I think the big thing for me is just don't turn the ball over. That's been his biggest issue since he's come in at quarterback, is just turning the ball over. Still does not have a passing touchdown. I think that changes today. When we go to game props, I actually was going to share that one anyway, so you'll get an extra one from me. But I do think he throws one today. I just want to see him manage the game. All I want for my backup is just manage the game. I don't need you to do anything special, and that's just – PJ Walker, I believe, can do that. And I think getting a full week, I'm not expecting him to come out and light it up by any means. I think he can be solid today. And he's going to need to be, because Seattle, they got a good group of corners. Tariq Woolen and Devin Witherspoon that's a good group of young corners right there. And, I think today they got to get Amari Cooper more involved, and I don't know what the issue was with that last week, but I saw someone mention David Njoku. I think David Njoku needs targeted 5 to 8 times in this game. There's no reason why he shouldn't be getting more targets, and because he's just such a mismatch. He's a big target for a guy like PJ Walker, and I think he could be that safety blanket for him. So I think PJ is going to look better today. I think he will. Now, I could be completely wrong now.
Yeah, David Njoku, the thing is, you got those 2 corners on the outside. You need to attack them over the middle. Bobby Wagner's fantastic. But yeah. I would rather attack him in coverage than those corners.
Bobby Wagner's not the Bobby Wagner he was 5 years ago. Now, still very good, but he is not Fred Warner.
Right, but I'm just saying, where are you finding an easier place to attack in the passing game? It's in the middle of the field. Regardless of how you feel about Bobby Wagner and those other linebackers, they're not as good in coverage as what those outside corners are, as you would expect. So, attacking them up the seam, Jamal Adams, who's questionable, is pretty good, but I'm not scared of those back deep safeties that much. They're not scrubs by any stretch of the imagination, but up the seam and the intermediate over the middle, keep them away from some of those talented defensive backs and feed it into Njoku. They're a very aggressive defense. Take advantage of that in the screen game, because he's been just fantastic in the screen game when it doesn't get called back by penalties. And it's just, that's where the easier yards are going to come in my mind, is away from those corners, and the prime person to get that is Njoku in the middle.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I absolutely agree with that. Let's see if we have any other questions here. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of people mention got to get Amari Cooper involved. I agree with that 100%. Very mind blowing that he and that could have just been the way it worked last week that he was not involved more. What are you guys expecting from the running game today? I know that's a big question mark because Jerome Ford, we thought he was going to be out a couple weeks. Now he might play. Kareem Hunt is still banged up. I mean, even though he's going to play, he's still clearly banged up. Pierre Strong should get more of a role. We know Jordan Wilkins was activated from the practice squad. What are you guys expecting to see from the running game today? Do you think they'll be able to run the ball against the Seattle defense?
Well, the offensive line's played better since the bye, period, as a collective group. Now, you can single some people out. DeJuan's been better in the run game, which is something that I'm sure defenders don't want to see. But if you look at their totals as a whole, I think they ran for 160 against San Fran and 158 against the Colts. But then when you think that Ford had 69 on one play, they were still around that 3 yards per carry mark. That has to increase. So as this offensive line if they can keep, getting their level play up week over week, give the running backs a shot. I don't look for anything crazy explosive. It'd be cool to see someone break one. I think Pierre Strong's due to actually take one to the house. But I think it's just going to be tough sledding. I think you're still looking at a less than 4 yards per carry. That's the reason I'm just kind of don't know what to expect today. We'll see what Hunt looks like. I know last week he was banged up, he gutted it out. He's nasty in the red zone, great short yardage back. They really haven't found their groove. They have impressive rushing numbers, but they're not consistent. Mm-hmm. They've had a couple big plays that have elevated everything, but we need to see a more consistent approach. So I don't know. I don't think they'll break 120 yards rushing today.
I don't even know if they get to 100. This Seattle rushing defense is good. They're right ahead of the Browns for yards given up, per game. So far, they have 87.2 yards a game, and unless we get one of those big plays, I don't know if we can even get to 87. Honestly, as messed up as that sounds. Hopefully we can, and we can establish the run game. But that's a tough defense play, and especially if their crowd is real into it, you're not doing much anyway. So I don't expect much from them. I do want to see Pierre Strong more. And who's the other one? Who's the other back that they brought in? That
they brought back Jordan Wilkins.
Okay, so I don't really know what to make of that either. So I just hope
it's because he's familiar. That's the only takeaway I have from it is that he's familiar with the system.
I'm familiar with him fumbling. I need that not to happen.
Yeah, I can't have that. I can't afford that. But I don't expect much from the running game to that, which is why I think Walker is going to step his game up because he's going to have to. Just like we said it earlier in the show with the Browns getting to Geno and stopping their run game to make Geno just be a passer instead of here you go, here's the ball. I don't have to throw it here. Make him do that. So I think it's going to be much of the same here.
I got Pierre Strong 2 touchdowns, so that's what I think.
I love that.
I can't tell if you're serious or if you're kidding.
No, I wrote that. It's in print.
It's in print.
Yeah. The internet can find it. It's out there. Yeah.
Well, if it's on the internet, then it has to be true.
Oh yeah. Anything. Yep. I've learned that. Anything on the internet's completely true. Doesn't matter what it is.
Especially on Twitter.
Always true.
Especially on Twitter.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, I put it on Twitter.
Yeah. This running game, man, it just if Jerome Ford for some reason ends up not being able to go, then I'll admit I don't see much that this run game's able to do.
Yeah, and this is where I kept saying in the offseason, this is where every year there's a position that Andrew Berry just neglects. And I get it, we have Nick Chubb, but you also have to think of backup. What if Chubb goes down? Well, we have no Chubb now. He's not playing. And you rolled in with Jerome Ford, who got 8 touches last year. And whoever else behind that, and you bring Kareem Hunt back, who he's been productive for the Browns since he signed, but that's where he was just negligent in that area of building this roster. Nobody expects Nick Chubb to get hurt. Nobody expects anyone to get hurt. The Patriots didn't expect Tom Brady to get hurt on the first play of the season back in whatever year that was, 2007 or whatever year it was. But it happens, and they didn't address that, and now they're gonna pay for it unless like he said, one of these guys can break a big run off and skew those numbers higher. But I don't have a lot of faith in this run game, and I really don't like how that room was ignored all offseason.
Could be addressed easily right now.
Yeah.
I'm going to continue to repeat that for a while. Like, Leonard Fournette is at home. Like, to me, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people don't like the idea, like, because they think he's washed and whatever else. I think he brings you the fact that he has been a bell cow in the NFL before.
Mm-hmm.
And you have that guy that basically you could rely on. That's the way I look at it. But, I'm not.
He's a good receiving back as well.
He's a very underrated receiving back.
Yeah.
People never give him credit for that. They're like, well, this guy just runs people over and whatnot. I was surprised actually by that when he was coming out of LSU. I was surprised by his pass catching ability for that big of a running back. So, we got about 10 minutes left, guys. What do you think are the keys to the game for the Browns to keep? Because I think they're going to have to – it's going to be hard to keep it close in Seattle. I mean, the defense is going to have to be a lot better than last week for that to happen. But for the Browns to win this game, what do you think needs to happen? And then we'll get to some game props and then game predictions.
Well, it finally happened, so I think we can say it out loud. Win the turnover battle. We've actually seen them do it. That's huge on the road. That is massive. You can not be giving Seattle short field in Seattle. That place will it'll get crazy. So that's first and foremost, man. Win the turnover battle, win the line of scrimmage. You do those two things, you're going to be in this game through the duration.
Yeah, absolutely. The turnover battle is the crucial part. If you can hopefully get a pick and house it, then that'd be fantastic. That'd be even better. But I'll just settle for regular, interceptions and turnovers and all that. And I really think that Myles Garrett is at a place now where he knows that at certain points he has to take over. It doesn't necessarily have to be in the fourth quarter. It's not like he had the 2 strip sacks and the block field goal late in the game. That happened in the second quarter. But there's going to be different times in this game where he's going to really implement his will like he has been. And so I think his involvement is going to be one of the keys as well. And I think he's able to strip Geno a time or two again. I think he can get there and fall out.
I don't think you're allowed to do that on network television, strip someone down naked.
Not naked. They do a naked bootleg for that.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Oh, goodness, dude. Goodness. Real quick, I saw a question in the chat about Kareem Hunt. He's got a thigh injury. I mean, you can tell he doesn't look – you can tell he doesn't look 100%. He's out there, but let me phrase that. No one's 100% at this point, but you can tell Kareem doesn't have even less of a burst. I would say that.
He was a game time decision last week, and this week he's not even on the injury report. He's not even designated.
Which is good to see. That is good.
Good to see. Yeah, it's good to see. But when it's a thigh injury, that could be re-aggravated really easily, especially given his position and his proclivity for running like the Tasmanian devil. So he puts his body at risk just the way he runs. So I feel good about how he is going into the game, but that doesn't mean he walks out of this game the same way.
Right.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Really good point. But yeah, I agree with those keys to the game for sure, because if you win the turnover battle in Seattle, I think you give yourself a good chance. That's the biggest thing. Can you make Geno turn the ball over? He's been prone to turnovers this year. Can you get a few turnovers? Can the defense set you up with a short field? Can you give Dustin Hopkins the opportunity to kick some field goals today? All questions.
Yep, yes, sir.
All questions. It's awesome actually being able to say that.
I know.
I can actually say,
you say his name
can
and
my
I just
kicker get some
smile.
opportunities?
Let's kick the damn ball, Kevin.
Hey, kick the ball, Kevin.
Oh, God, please.
Rent the shirts.
Hey, if the Browns are able to win today, does Kevin Stefanski's seat get even hotter than it has been the past 2 weeks?
It probably
Oh my
will.
gracious,
It probably
dude.
will.
Absolutely.
100%. I'm ready for it. I'm prepared.
I've never seen that ever. You win games, and they could be the ugliest wins ever because there's really no such thing as an ugly win because it goes as a win. It's not like you go to the standings on NFL.com and it says, oh, they're 4-2, but 2 ugly losses or 2 ugly wins. No, they don't say that. They just say wins. And he's been winning despite he's had like all this nonsensical shit around him, like quarterback wise, since he got here. And he's still going through. We make this big trade for Deshaun Watson. All right, Kevin has the guy. Kevin has the quarterback. Nope, Kevin, sorry, buddy. You can wait a few weeks. You can't have him right now. You're still going to win games, but we're still going to be pissed at you. And by we, I mean like idiots on Twitter.
Well, it's just the aesthetics of it. But if you just take a step back and look, you beat the hottest team in the league. Then you go to what was a prime candidate for a trap game last week, coming off that emotional win in Indianapolis. Pull that out. You know what I mean? If he does it again this week, and that's what they're still mad about, that it was ugly. Come on, man. Like, he can't win. He can't win.
Yeah,
He's doing it with a practice squad quarterback, for God's sakes. Jesus, what are we talking about?
I hate it. I hate that nonsensical talk of that. Like, he's winning
so much fun.
Games. He's winning football games. He's leading the team. I thought he wasn't a leader. I thought he couldn't do
with an XFL quarterback.
Right.
And I love PJ Walker. Seriously, his story is awesome. But I mean, yeah,
it is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you know
he was cut? He fight for a rookie in Chicago.
Yeah. A weird. But did you know that people used to say prunes instead of cheese when taking photos?
Okay. All right.
Like when you take photos, people say cheese, but they used to say prunes.
All right.
Tune into the pregame and watch Jacob slip into senility right in front of you.
All right, guys. What is one prop that you like for today's game? I gave one. I gave a PJ Walker touchdown. I'm going to give something else for PJ. I like him over 92.5 passing yards because I think the Browns are going to be trailing in this game. They're going to have to pass.
Give me Amari Cooper anytime touchdown scorer.
Okay.
Give me Elijah Moore anytime touchdown scorer. I just wrote about him for Dog Pound Day this week as the breakout candidate. This, I think, could be that game.
Plus 430.
Yeah.
That might be tempting.
There's some good odds for that one. I thought about it over Amari, but I went with Amari because I feel more confident. But
Joku is a plus 490.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that one too.
Dude, there's some. They really think the Browns offense sucks.
Well, I mean,
it does.
It does until they have a quarterback. So, or until the game is on the line and PJ Walker turns into Tom Brady and he just makes these throws and gets some help from the refs. I loved it.
PJ Walker came out and had like 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. It would actually be brutal on social media.
They would melt the fuck down, quota. They would melt down on it would just, oh my God, it would be fantastic. It would be just so much fun. I would enjoy the chaos and it just, all the screams and the tears would just fuel my laughter and rage.
Dude. Oh my goodness gracious.
I wanted to real quick. I sent this in the group chat yesterday, but I didn't say it to everybody. I think that our Twitter account or our YouTube account got the best comment it's ever gotten, and there have been some doozies on it. But the Faithful Dogs, your guys' show this week was just titled, "Time to Give Kevin Stefanski More Credit," and somebody just commented, "No."
No other thought to it whatsoever. Just nope.
There wasn't a period, nothing. Just an N and an O, and I lost my shit. I was like, yeah, sure, what not? Let's do it.
I love the reasoning behind it too. Just none provided.
Quality take. Brown Seahawks 24-17.
Okay. Eddie.
I'm going to go 21-17 Browns. 3 touchdowns.
Okay. All right.
No, let me change. I want to change that. I need to. No, I'm not. That's 21-17.
All right.
I'm sticking with mine from Friday. I got 23-20 Browns. It's hard for me to look at this team who, had to find a path to win against San Francisco and say they can do it against Seattle. It comes down to this defense, but I think they can thread the needle. Huge D-Hop day today, though, 23-20.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm sticking with the same thing. I still think the Browns are going to lose this game. I think they'll stay in it, but I just think I have a feeling PJ is going to end up turning it over. It's going to give Seattle a short field. And one thing, this Browns defense, as good as they've been all year, when the offense commits turnovers, teams normally score off those turnovers against the Browns defense, which happens to pretty much any team. But normally that's when the Browns defense gives up their touchdowns this year. So I think Seattle's going to get probably 2 of those today. Not necessarily by PJ Walker. I think just 2 turnovers in general. They're going to end up winning this game 27-17. I think PJ is going to look better. I just don't know. But I will say this: the Browns have not won in Seattle since 1989, and as you know, Taylor Swift's version of 1989 came out on Friday, so it could be in the stars.
All right,
Anyway, guys,
I gotta address this comment. Hold on. Listen. All right. So I feel like prunes would give you too much of an O lip shape instead of the E of cheese. So this was back in the 1840s. And in the 1840s, it was considered childish to smile in photos. So cheese makes you smile. Fuck no, they were not about that life. They wanted you to look stoic and pissed off. So you'd say prunes. Yeah.
Really was.
I don't even want to know where you found that piece of information at all.
Anyway, as always, drop a like on the video. Subscribe if you're brand new to Network 216, as we're trying to reach 3,000 subscribers before the end of the year. And again, it's completely free to subscribe. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Network 216 pregame show, Browns and Seahawks. And we will see you guys all again next Sunday at 11 o'clock. As always, go Browns.
Go Browns.
Stay prune.
Yeah.